Japanese video game developer Yoshiki Okamoto, known for the Japanese mobile game Monster Strike as well as Street Fighter 2, has weighed in on the backlash to Assassin's Creed Shadows. And he's kind of trying to downplay it, saying that the Assassin's Creed Shadows is just a game. It's fantasy, not reality. This is an extremely naive take that seemingly he doesn't realize what these video game companies are doing and how they are using video games to psyop, brainwash, and indoctrinate people into believing fake history and buying into woke ideology. Before we get to this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. Roll this up over at thatparkplace.com. And indeed, there is numerous backlash to this game. They're in both Japan and in the West. Obviously, we have this petition here that originated in Japan. Currently has almost 50,000 signatures. And the petition says this, that the game is a serious insult to Japanese culture and history and can lead to racism in Asia. And it calls on Ubisoft to stop developing it and cease what they're doing. So as we call on Ubisoft to immediately discontinue the launch of Assassin's Creed Shadows and show sincere research and respect for Japanese history and culture. Here in the West, the game has also been criticized. Ex-user Ian Miles Chongs wrote this: should Ubisoft delay Assassin's Creed Shadows in response to widespread backlash over the game's injection of DEI? The game is so thoroughly woke that it features a black gay protagonist depicted as a real historical samurai in Japan. Offensive beyond belief. No one asked for this. Even ex-CEO Elon Musk weighed in and said DEI kills art. Indeed it does, because this isn't art. It is literally a vehicle for propaganda. So we got this translation of Okamoto's YouTube video where he discusses the backlash to Assassin's Creed Shadows. Comes to us from Automaton. And this is what he had to say. He says, I'm aware that this game is currently facing all kinds of backlash, but I'd like to talk about things from a more positive perspective. He then goes on and discusses the game's dual protagonist system, with Yasuke being more a brute tank and Naui being a stealthy ninja. Automaton's Amber V, who translated portions of the video and described others, detailed that Okamoto is excited about the system because it was something he attempted to create with his games Genji Dawn of the Samurai and Genji Days of the Blade, but never achieved. She specifically translates this, that he said, we weren't able to pull it off at the time, but I think Ubisoft will, which is why I have high hopes. So I think that's why he's probably more optimistic on the game. He's focusing on the gameplay stuff, and he's not really focusing on the narrative, the story, etc. But this is something that I've talked about with Brian Niemeyer. Brian Niemeyer has written a lot about, is of course they're going to have interesting, decent gameplay mechanics, because otherwise they're not going to really get people to purchase the game. If the gameplay is absolutely trash and terrible, you aren't even able to get people in the door with the indoctrination. You're not going to be able to hit them with the woke ideology through the narrative and through the story. So you got to have decent gameplay mechanics. It wouldn't be effective propaganda if it wasn't on some level efficient at what it does technically. But he did address criticisms of the game's historical and cultural representation, and he downplayed them. And he said this: it's a game, it's fantasy, not reality. Even if Oda Nobunaga's family crest is upside down, that's just the Oda Nobunaga in the game. It does not impact how entertaining the game is. Well, maybe it doesn't impact on him. I definitely feel like some people that will have an impact on, because it's not actually accurate to it. But nevertheless, I do think this is a completely naive view, because I don't think the game is being made to entertain anymore. I think these games are made for indoctrination. And this is documented on Ubisoft's website. They're not just being made as games. They're not being made for escape. They're not being made for entertainment. We have this from Ubisoft's VP of Global Diversity and Inclusion, Rashi Sika. This is on their website. For Ubisoft, putting diversity and inclusion at the heart of everything we do means providing an environment where employees can thrive, building open-minded communities where players can connect, and creating games that reflect the diversity of the world we live in. So there you go. I mean, they're putting diversity and inclusion at the heart of everything we do. It's very well documented that diversity and inclusion, at the end of the day, it's just being anti-white. That's what it is, especially here in the West. It's just nice words for being racist. That's what it is. Sika concludes saying, we will not accomplish all these goals overnight. Just as it takes years of iteration to develop a AAA title, we will only become a more diverse and inclusive company by continuously improving. trying new ideas and learning from the results. It's a long-term commitment, one that we will tackle with the same passion and dedication that we bring to our games. If you scroll a little bit further down on their inclusion, diversity, and accessibility page, you get to the section titled Content. And this is what it reads. We will create gaming experiences that push representation forward by embedding diversity and inclusion across our processes, increasing representation in our teams, and offering access to resources that help teams to build more authentic, inclusive, and accessible gaming experiences. So there you go. Clearly using their games as vehicles to push woke ideology, push racist hate. It's on their website. I mean, we can look at other examples too outside of Ubisoft. I mean, it's on their website. I think that's pretty clear. But you can look at how they're trying to rewrite history. Netflix did this with this Cleopatra documentary they released last year. The director wrote an op-ed after it got like massive backlash. Like, that's not what Cleopatra was in black. So they cast this actress Adele James to play Cleopatra. It's a black woman. And Cleopatra she wasn't black. That's just not what she looked like. But the director came out and made it very clear that this was a political statement that she was engaging in. She wrote this in an op-ed in Variety. She says, doing the research, I realized what a political act it would be to see Cleopatra portrayed by a black actress. For me, the idea that people had gotten it so incredibly wrong before, historically, from Theda Bara to Monica Bellucci, and recently with Angelina Jolie and Gal Gadot in the running to play her, man, we had to get it even more right. Hunt was on to find the right performer to bring Cleopatra into the 21st century. So remember this. She says that all of these other depictions of Cleopatra were wrong. She has to get it right this time. She's correcting history. Why shouldn't Cleopatra be a melanated sister? And why do some people need Cleopatra to be white? Her proximity to whiteness seems to give her value, and for some Egyptians, it seems to really matter. So there you go. Again, more anti-white stuff. Like, they say it right out loud in Variety, just actively being anti-white. Perhaps it's not that I've directed a series that portrays Cleopatra as black, but that I have asked Egyptians to see themselves as Africans, and they are furious at me for that. I am okay with this. She then admits this. So was Cleopatra black? We don't know for sure. But we can be certain she wasn't white like Elizabeth Taylor. We need to have a conversation with ourselves about our colorism and the internalized white supremacy that Hollywood has indoctrinated us with. It's hilarious that she is projecting. She's lied multiple times throughout this and then projects, right? She's the one doing the indoctrination. She admits that Cleopatra was not black, or she doesn't know Cleopatra was black. But remember, she said all of these other examples, they weren't wrong because she had to do it right. Or they were wrong, excuse me. She said all these other examples, Theda Bara, Monica Bellucci, Angelina Jolie, Gal Gadot, they were wrong. She had to do it right. Absolutely wild. However, we do have this image. This is what Cleopatra looked like. Posthumous portrait of Cleopatra VII, Ptolemaic, Egypt. It's located in the National Archaeological Museum of Naples. Depicts her as a white woman with reddish and brown hair. Looks much more like Elizabeth Taylor, looks much more like her than Adele James here. So clearly trying to rewrite history through this documentary. That's exactly what they were trying to do. And she knows this is a political act. That's what they are trying to do. It's not just a game. They are actively trying to rewrite history so everything fits their vision. Everything was woke. Everything was always woke. There's nothing before woke. So if you need even more evidence of this, they literally have disallowed editing of the Wikipedia page of Yasuke because they want to make it seem like Yasuke was indeed a samurai. And it's all because of Assassin's Creed Shadows and how they are depicting. They are using the game to rewrite history. Not just the game. It's not just entertainment. It's not just a fantasy. But ex-user Political Wake wrote this at the end of June. Wikipedia has now removed the ability to alter Yasuke's Wikipedia page. None of the sources they use to justify their false claim that Yasuke was a samurai are Japanese. They are all Western. Leftists are the masters of historical revisionism. And they've locked Wikipedia now. And then we have this from Jon Favreau, too, because it's not just a game. I can't emphasize that enough. Favreau even says this at the Vanity Fair's New Establishment Summit. He says that there are life lessons that are in these stories that carry on the tradition in speaking to George Lucas. He felt that the Western was the genre that helped teach a generation of people coming of age about the value systems that are espoused by that genre. And that Star Wars, part of that responsibility is remembering that part of your audience is a whole generation that's coming of age. And through stories, we express our values to the next generation. That is what Jon Favreau admits is what they are doing. Through stories, we express our values to the next generation. What are those values? Well, Ubisoft told us. Representation, diversity, wokeness. Those are the values that Ubisoft is injecting, or, and to use their word, embedding into their games. And they want to express that. They want to imprint that onto the next generation. They want you to believe this stuff. It is actually real. It's history. This is how you need to behave when it's all a lie. So it's not just a game. It's not just entertainment. They want to actively psyop you into believing these lies so that you will take these lies and shape reality with those lies. So Mr. Okamoto is definitely massively naive on this. I hope someone tells him about this. Maybe sends him this video, figures this out, because they're not just going to do it here in the United States. They're going to be doing it in Japan too. But that's all I got to say on this. Let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, but to always speak the truth.